Okay. I'm going to sing something, and I'm going to point to you, and you sing the same thing, okay? Okay?
Okay.
I'm just like you.
I'm just like you.
You're just like me.
You're just like me.
It's something anyone can see. A heart that beats.
A heart that beats.
A voice that speaks the truth. Oh. Yes, I am a girl like you.
Like you.
Yep. Do you know where that's from?
No. High School Musical?
No, it's a stone cold classic.
Off the top of my head, I have no idea.
It's from Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper. Ever seen it?
Maybe. I saw like half of one when I was like 3.
I rewatched it last night.
Pretty epic, right?
It's pretty good. Not gonna lie.
I don't remember who it was, and even if
I've seen, I think, 5 of the Barbie movies, and that one's pretty good, actually. Huh. Like, legitimately decent.
I don't remember.
Martin Short is the villain in it.
Who is?
Martin Short.
Oh, Martin Short. Jack Frost. Good old Jiminy Glick. I don't remember who it was. And even if I did, I wouldn't like call them out on the podcast. But I remember there was a couple people at the theater that were raving about the fucking Barbie movies.
Most of them, well, I remember the 3 that I watched a lot as a child because my little sister like had them all on DVD. I remember like actually enjoying them.
Oh, I think I know who it was. I think they found the movies lit af.
Nice.
Yeah.
The 3 I remember, I thought were pretty, like, decent as a kid, at least. And this one I rewatched, and I legitimately thought it was pretty The animation was, like...
I'm sure.
Terrible.
Yeah.
It was probably okay for the time, but, oof.
Yeah.
But I watched, while I was working at the theater, I watched 2 just during work one day. I'm just going to watch these. And those were terrible, but... It's funny to watch Barbie movies.
I'm glad.
And some of them are good. And I want little girls and boys that like Barbies to have good movies. So
yeah.
So I'll watch them all.
I mean,
I'm gonna do it. You wanna? Oh, I should change my pick to a Barbie.
Oh. I mean, how I'd be
okay
with it if it was like...
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, welcome. I'd be okay with it if it was like a 40 to 60 minute runtime, but I feel like you'd like pick like the fucking...
Most of them are like an hour and 20.
Okay. I was going to say, there aren't any like Schindler List length like Barbie movies.
They should just make Barbie's List.
That would be great.
No, I think they're usually about an hour 20 to hour 30.
Okay.
Anyway, Thomas is not feeling super well.
I'm like deaf in both ears.
Are you feeling okay, but it's just your ears, or you're feeling kind of yucky too?
It's mostly just my ears, and there's a little bit of like kind of cloggedness, kind of like sitting in the middle of my face. Outside of that, I'm peachy. The new One Piece is off hiatus this week.
Oh, thank God! I'm so excited.
Yeah, the cliffhanger it left on was pretty...
It's like, what do you mean Luffy has AIDS?
Yeah, who knew? Who knew that rubber people could get AIDS? But, I mean, it happens. But yeah. No, not too bad. Just deaf, mostly.
Ah, yes. Which brings us to today's sponsors. Raycon AirPod.
Yeah.
Raycon earphones. Thomas can plug them in and finally hear me.
Yeah.
I'll just talk straight into the mic and your earphones will be plugged in. So it's just like blaring in your ear.
Oh, yeah.
Just kidding. We don't have any sponsors because we have 36 subscribers, I think.
Yeah, I think it was
for now.
Last time I looked at it.
Till we blow up. Till we boom. It's going to be like boom and we're going to have billions.
I think it's going to be funny if we ever blow up because I feel like that won't happen until we've been doing it for a really long time. Yeah. So we're just going to have like 50 episodes of us just going, thanks, Pierre, for the questions. And then just one. It's going to happen because I hear when it does happen, it happes like really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Just
well, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, just the algorithm will like pick us up and start recommending us.
Yeah, it's like a really, really long road to hit to like, I think it's if I remember correctly, at least from back in like the day when I was Let's Playing a lot and like trying to know the algorithm. It was like you try to hit like 1,000, and then the YouTube algorithm will like help you a lot.
Yeah.
But that road to 1,000 is just like, oh.
So tell your fucking grandma, guys.
God, nobody's doing it. Nobody's Pierre. Tell
Pierre,
your fucking mom.
Why are we getting questions from Pierre's grandmother?
Pierre, you have 2 brothers, and neither of them listen to the podcast.
Yeah,
I'm going to give out your social security number.
I've tried. Like, I've tried with my friends. I'm like, hey, guys, I've got the podcast. You want to leave a question on this video? Nothing.
Well, at least we got Pierre.
Not even Lucero.
Pierre listens to it, Joe listens to it, and my dad listens to it. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, thanks,
I remember
Lawrence, Dad.
my dad has a shirt that just says, fuck you, pay me on it. And he just likes wearing it around. I hope you still wear it a lot, especially in Mexico.
That'd be pretty epic.
Yeah, pretty epic. I should get him on the podcast.
Yeah, we can Skype him.
We can talk about Pulp Fiction. I think that's like his favorite movie.
I wouldn't even need to rewatch it. I've seen it a lot.
I don't really like it.
I
like it. It's just, I think, my least favorite Tarantino, but I haven't seen Death Proof, so that might be.
Death Proof is my least favorite. I'd say Pulp Fiction's probably my favorite Tarantino, so that just shows the...
I think I've just seen it too much.
I can understand that, Greg. It is definitely one of his more, like...
Also, I don't think John Travolta is very good in it. I just don't think
he has a pretty flat performance. I think that works for the character, but I see what you mean. Like I don't think it was like one of those roles that it kind of like lived up to where it's like it brought John Travolta back. It's like, yeah, he did good in it, and especially compared to some of the shit he was making at the time. But
and then he made Face Off.
Yeah.
The greatest movie.
Then he made that new movie that's
The Fanatic by Fred Durst.
Yeah, that I still haven't seen.
I've heard it's extreme bad, but like watch it because it's funny.
Yeah.
I think my mom listens to the podcast too occasionally. Hi, Mom. If you're listening.
Hi, London's mom. If you're listening.
What up?
The sky.
So we got a couple. Julia listens to it occasionally.
Oh, nice.
You know, she's got a question today. Pierre's got a question today. Hinatea sent in a question today, even though she doesn't listen to the podcast, which makes me very sad.
Your own girlfriend doesn't listen to the podcast. Hinatea, what the heck?
She won't hear this, so it's okay.
Oh, okay.
She'll listen to it like 4 months from now and be like, "Hey," I'll be like, "Hinatea, we have like 16 more episodes."
Yeah.
So have you watched anything else this week?
I almost did. And I want to say I did. I just don't fucking remember.
Nice.
I almost watched La La Land this week.
Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, it's fun.
I
like it much more than Whiplash.
Well, I
like Whiplash.
I really liked Whiplash, so that's why I'm like, So I bought the 4Ks for La La Land and First Man.
Yeah, I really want to watch First Man still.
Yeah.
But one day.
Yes, one day. Not today.
So you almost watched a movie, but you didn't.
I want to say I did. I just don't fucking remember what it was.
Oh, I watched a movie we've been talking about. Like, we've probably talked about like 3 or 4 times on the podcast. Of me going, I still haven't seen that.
What movie?
Stand By Me.
Oh, you finally watched it?
I watched it.
What'd you think?
I thought it was pretty okay. I thought it was pretty good. Like, you know, I thought it had some pretty great acting by the 4 main guys.
Especially River
Phoenix, R.I.P. And, you know, Will Wheaton, he was the main kid, right?
Yeah.
He was probably the weakest of them all, but I think that was mostly due to the script, just of him being like the narrator, but also just like kind of a figure there for most of it. But River Phoenix and
it's River Phoenix, Will Wheaton, Corey Feldman.
Yeah, Corey Feldman's really good in that.
Yeah,
like it makes me really sad because Corey Feldman went through so much shit.
Yeah,
and now he's just crazy.
Yeah, he seems
But,
a little
it's
deep
understandably so from things he went through. But like Corey Feldman at the top of his game, and like what was he in, like Gremlins?
Yeah, he was in Gremlins, The Goonies,
and this. Like he was like a really good
Lost
child
Boys.
actor. I haven't seen Lost Boys.
You haven't seen Lost Boys? Ooh, that's a
It's
good
like Stand By Me, but with Lost Boys. Aren't they like vampires?
It's a vampire movie.
Are they sexy vampires?
There are some sexy vampires in it, yes.
Nice.
It's a good movie. It's fun. I haven't watched it in years, but I remember really enjoying it. All the sequels are not good, though.
I've heard.
Which is typical.
Stand By Me and it are like so similar stories. And I'm like, I know they're both Stephen King stories.
I think it's mostly the new adaptation from it taking and borrowing a lot of characteristics from Stand By Me to make it feel more like a Stephen King 80s piece of writing. Because other than the fact that they both follow like a group of kids, and that they're like kind of overcoming like their own personal demons, there are similarities. Like the character, Gordy's character and Bill's character kind of share parallels, and they both have like, spoiler alert, dead brother, and they both have like the parents who have that mentality where it's like, it should have been you. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, maybe a few here and there, because it's been a while since I've read the novella or watched the movie for Stand By Me. But
yeah, I thought it was pretty good. You know the scene where he's telling the story about the pie eating contest? Yeah. I thought that was not super great. I just thought it was like, I get what they were going for, you know.
I can see it being...
I thought it was like way too long.
Yeah, I could probably see that. It's a goofy and kind of out of place scene, especially like with the rest of the movie being pretty like serious in tone. I mean, it's got its like goofy, more lighthearted aspects, but like that scene is a pretty different type of comedy than what the rest of the movie was going for. And I guess it's like excusable because it's like a campfire scene, but it just kind of becomes like a subjective thing at that point.
And just like in the Goonies, you know, it's like the fat kid is used as like a punching bag more than anything.
Yeah,
like,
that's typical with a lot of those movies. Believe me, I grew up a fat kid. And
that's just kind of annoying.
Do the truffle shuffle.
Yeah, I would bet.
Yeah.
I remember I would say that to one of my fat friends. Now, thinking back on that, I'm like, what the fuck was wrong with me? Why did I do that?
Yeah. It's because us fat people aren't people.
Well, that's true. I don't think of you as a person, but that's because you wear a hat.
It's you.
I just don't. I've changed from hating fat people to hating people that wear hats.
Fat people and hat people, am I right?
Next is bat people.
And then it's going to be cat people.
Yeah. I just fucking hate furries. Yeah, so like, I just wish, you know, I thought the performances from the main four were really good, and like I thought Kiefer Sutherland was decent, but some of the like adults I didn't think were super good.
He's also in Lost Boys.
Oh.
He's like, it's pretty obvious from like the first time you see him in the movie and all the promotional material for him, but he's like the main vampire. The main bad vampire.
Oh. But, like, do you remember the guy who owns the junkyard? Yeah. I thought...
Hey, I recognize you!
Yeah.
Your dad's crazy!
I thought he was not very good.
Yeah.
and that scene, I just, you know, a lot of the interactions just felt a little too, like, forced. I'm like, I get what they're going for, but I get it too much. Reel it back.
Yeah.
But, you know, I thought it was pretty solid. I'm glad I watched it. It's by, who's it by? Who did it? Rob Reiner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, pretty good. Good job, Rob.
Yeah, he's a pretty good director.
Another pretty good director, Steven Soderbergh. You know him?
Yeah.
Ocean's Man.
Yeah, the dude who did Unsane. And
Yeah, I didn't see Unsane. I wanted to, but
I watched YMS's quickie on his new movie that he just
The
released.
Laundromat, the one I just watched last night.
Ah, how was it?
I thought it was terrible.
That's kind of what I heard.
Yeah, really, really bad. It's somehow, like, it's super pretentious and super shallow. Like, my main complaint is, like, they're trying to educate people on the Panama Papers, but if you know, like, anything about them,
it becomes super obvious.
It's like you're not learning anything new, and it's like, okay, cool. The vignettes don't really, it's just like, I think 3 or 4 vignettes, like, it's kind of colliding, but not really. And they're all pretty much saying the exact same thing. They're all filled with pretty bad performances from a pretty killer cast. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So it's like, if you know anything about the Panama Papers, you don't learn anything from it. And if you don't know anything, the wordplay and like the things they try to say is like too much for somebody that has no idea what they're talking about. So I'm just like, who the fuck is the target audience? It's like people that don't know will not get it, and people that know already know.
Huh.
And yeah, like Antonio Banderas is in it, and Gary Oldman and Meryl Streep, and they're all bad. They're all like really bad. David Schwimmer, you know him?
Yeah,
he's actually probably the best part of the movie. I thought his performance had the most amount of like nuance and like depth, and I was like, and he was only in like the first vignette, and I'm like, well, that's annoying.
Probably because he's got the most to prove. He's like, I'm alongside Meryl Streep, Gary Oldman, and who's the other person you listed?
Antonio Banderas.
I'm
like, David Schwimmer. Yeah, but David Schwimmer has more money than all of them, probably.
Oh yeah, because
he makes he makes like $20 million a year probably from just like reruns.
Yeah, probably.
And I'm like, choose to be in a better movie then. Didn't you read this shitty script?
I mean, he was in all 3 Madagascar movies, so.
I know. I've only seen the first 2, but.
Yeah,
I thought the second was okay.
I remember.
I really liked the first when I was a kid. I was like, this is so funny.
I remember not liking either of them when I was a kid. I was like, ooh, this is.
I rewatched them like recently because like my nephew really likes them now, and. The first one's pretty bad, but the second I kind of enjoy because there's like a couple funny jokes. And I'm like, well, cool. At least I wasn't bored out of my mind.
Yeah. I hear the third one's like off the wall, just like they're like, well, it's Madagascar 3. Let's just go completely crazy. Off the wall.
Let's just go sicko mode.
Pretty much. That's what I hear. So you might want to watch that.
It's called Europe's Most Wanted because they do a terrorist strike.
Ah, nice.
I watched a couple other movies, not too many. I watched...
When I was a kid, I remember seeing the trailer for The Bucket List a lot on like DVDs I owned. Do you know that movie?
The Jack Nicholson, Morgan Freeman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I watched that. It was okay. Like they were good in it. But it's like Jack Nicholson's character was like a billionaire and they're trying to make him sympathetic. And I'm just like, I don't fucking have sympathy for billionaires' problems. They literally have all the time in the world. They're billionaires. They don't have to work. Any problems they have, they have the time to go solve. So especially the problems that he was having in the movie.
He didn't have time because he was old and dying.
But he had all the time before that.
That's how he became a billionaire. He just became a billionaire when the movie started.
And it was just,
He's like, now there's no time left.
It was just a little annoying. And then like overly sappy. And I'm like, oh. But they were pretty good. It wasn't a terrible movie, and there were some fun scenes, but...
I've seen, like, bits and pieces of it, like, when it came out, but I never bothered to, like...
When I was a kid, I'm just like, this seems like a really good movie. I don't know why. I'm just... Because I was, like, 9 or something when it came out.
Yeah,
and I'm like...
When you're younger, you don't have, like, the same level of standards.
I'm like, wow, a movie about people dying? Whoa.
See, I had already seen My Girl at that point, so I had already...
Like, oh no, he couldn't get away from the bees that he stood there for.
And then I watched
Bird Box from last year.
Oh,
with Sandra Bullock. That was really bad.
Yeah,
I had heard like it was alright, but no, that was really bad.
Yeah.
And I think the main reason is that Sandra Bullock's character is so like dull and boring and a terrible character. While there are like legitimately like interesting characters in the movie. Like John Malkovich has an interesting character. I think it's Trevante Rhodes. Did you see Moonlight?
Yeah.
He's the adult in Moonlight, the adult version of the dude.
Okay. What else is he in? He was in, I want to say something recently.
Yeah,
I remember hearing that he was in something. I'm like, that was the adult dude from Moonlight? What?
He's in The Predator. He's one of the main characters in The Predator. But he's one of the main characters in Bird Box as well, at least. But if he had been the main character, I think I would have actually maybe enjoyed the movie. Like, if they had just taken Sandra Bullock's character out. Because she was just a bitch. And I'm like, come on! Why are you doing this?
I don't know what it is. I'm sure she's a nice lady in real life, but I cannot stand Sandra Bullock. Like, if I see her...
Have you seen The Blind Side?
I have seen The Blind Side.
That's another movie when I was a kid. I'm like, did this movie just solve racism?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard she's very good in Gravity.
I didn't watch Gravity. Probably because of my bias.
No,
there are movies
I don't think she's very good at acting. I don't have anything against her.
There are movies that she's in that I like, but she is not usually the part that I like.
I don't think she's terrible. I think she's like pretty alright. I've never found a performance by her memorable. Anything to even say good things about.
Yeah, that's pretty much my sentiments. I always just see Sandra Bullock. I'm like, oh, it's Sandra Bullock.
There she is again.
She's
back at it again.
Another actress.
She's pretty good in Practical Magic, actually. I watched that.
I haven't seen that one.
The first time, like a year and a half ago. It's her and Nicole Kidman, and they're like sister witches.
Another actress I can't stand is Jennifer Gardner. I think that's her.
Jennifer Garner?
The one who was in, like, Peppermint.
Oh, yeah, she wasn't that. Yeah, I mean...
She is...
I used to get her
bad
confused with Sandra Bullock a lot.
That's kind of why I brought her up.
They look really similar.
I mean, I think she's pretty good in Juno.
Oh, shit. She was in Juno, wasn't she?
But for the most part, I would agree. Have you seen 13 Going on 30? Probably not.
A long time ago.
I think it's a pretty good movie. Not amazing or anything, but pretty good. And I think she's pretty good in that. But I think for the most part, she does not do very well. I don't even think it's necessarily her. I think she's just she's an actress that needs a lot of direction. So if the director's not anything special, it's just going to be bad.
Yeah, half the time she's like in movies I see, she's either just playing like a housewife or she's like.
Do you ever see the movie where she like has like a plant boy?
Yeah,
The Odd Life of Timothy Green.
Yeah,
that movie kind of scared me when I saw it. I'm like, the fuck is like you see like a demon. I don't know what. I'm just like, what's going on?
Oh, we got this kid and he came out of the ground.
Then he just kind of died.
Yeah.
And nobody cared. They're like, oh, cool. Here's another kid. They give them a kid at the end of the movie. Spoilers for The Odd Life of Timothy Green.
You're honestly not missing out on much.
Fuck, Joel Edgerton's the dad in that. Poor Joel Edgerton.
Yeah, no kidding.
We should watch that.
Maybe one day. I think
it's such a dumb movie. I remember not thinking it was terrible. I watched it. I thought it was like I'm just like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah.
I was just kind of baffled that was a movie. It felt like a fake movie that they would advertise in like It's Always Sunny.
I don't see like a whole lot of fake movies in It's Always Sunny, but
yeah, but it feels like one they would.
I feel like it's not crude enough for It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, it'd be like they'd be watching like a religious channel and they'd see a commercial for that and they'd be like, I don't know.
Maybe they're like, what do we got to do? Oh, they buried that baby and leaves came out of his leg. Let's go bury a baby.
And then they bury a baby. And then they're like, the gang gets arrested and sent to prison for child murder.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Gosh, It's Always Sunny is so good. I need to watch like the newest season because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen the last like 2 or 3.
I might be missing the last 2. And even then, I think I need to rewatch the last one I watched because it's...
Oh. The Odd Life of Timothy Green is directed by Peter Hedges, the dad of Lucas Hedges.
He's a naughty boy.
Yeah, I heard he's really good in Honey Boy.
I will say he looks like Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a little off, but I mean, he's probably like the
actor. He probably looks as much as you could find Shia LaBeouf to look like without just casting Shia LaBeouf.
Exactly.
They should have just gotten Ang Lee and DH Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, why didn't they just
Gemini, man?
They could have had Shia LaBeouf play Shia LaBeouf and then just like deep faked him so he was younger.
Yeah, like it was his regular face though, just on like a baby body.
Yeah, it'll be like that George Lopez effect where he's got the same size head but the little body.
I remember when I first saw that because I had like Nick at Night on at like,
yeah,
and I'd be like, "What the?" I'd be really scared because I was like 8. I'm like, is my head gonna do that?
I remember like one episode. He was like afraid of earthquakes or something, and it like flashed back to when he was a kid, and it's just like a little like kid body, but giant George Lopez head under like a table. It was funny.
Ever notice how a lot of like those old family sitcoms just normalize like really abusive parenting?
Yeah, because
George Lopez's mom in that was an awful woman.
Yeah,
and like. But then every once in a while they'd be like, "Oh, here's something she did that was really good," and I'm like, "That doesn't make her a better parent. Doing one good thing, she should have been doing that every day." And I'm like, "You were awful. You were abusive."
Yeah, it was a trend in sitcoms. Yeah. So, I mean, they like started off like with shit like Leave It to Beaver, and eventually like turned into like shit like the Brady Bunch. Mm. And then when it hit the 80s, they were like, all right, we gotta mix it up. So like shows like The Simpsons and Married with Children kind of brought in the dysfunctional family dynamic to it. And then like the 90s kind of were like, well, we gotta see how far we can take this. So they like started experimenting with shows like Malcolm in the Middle. And then just progressively, they just got worse and worse. And it's like, oh my God, is this even funny anymore?
I'm waiting for a parent just to murder their child.
Yeah.
And the laugh track just starts playing.
See, they were able to get away with that stuff in cartoons like Family Guy. Yeah. That's where it eventually evolved into. Hey, Lois, I just killed Stu. Remember that episode where they like, where I think it's like Meg and Chris throw Stewie down the stairs and he's got like an actual chunk of his brain sticking out. And he's like just fucking...
And then they put a hat on him.
Yeah. And then like Peter comes down. He's like, oh yeah, I did this with you guys all the time when you were babies. Don't worry. I got this. And it's like, this show's fucking terrible. Oh my God.
Oh. Yes, and that is what that's about all I watched this week, I believe. Should we get on to the questions?
Yeah, bring them on.
Unless you remembered if you watched anything.
Fuck, no, I know what it was. I didn't watch anything. I played some of Spider-Man PS4, which is so cinematic.
Yeah, it's really good.
That I mistook it for a
I really enjoy that game. I thought it was very good.
Me too. Probably like top contender for like.
It's Yuri Lowenthal. It's the voice actor for
Yuri Lowenthal does.
He's fantastic.
He's like, I love like the animated series like Spider-Man, but like Yuri Lowenthal like just captured like every angle of what like Spider-Man should sound like to me.
Yeah, I feel it.
That game like does a really good job at like branching out like the different aspects of like what people like about Spider-Man, because there's shit from like everything in there.
Yeah, I've been meaning to play all the expansions, because there were 3 DLCs that came out, but I just haven't had time. So most likely when I quit my job and I have a couple weeks off, I'll just plow through those real quick.
Yeah, it's I'm replaying through the game because when I played it, I only played through like the main story. I didn't do any of the side stuff really.
Yeah, I probably did like 70% of all the game had to offer. Like, I didn't take the pictures.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't like this.
But yeah, so I'm basically going back and I'm trying to do all the side stuff in the main story, and then I'm going to play the DLC, and then hopefully by the time I'm finished with all that, the sequel will be here, but it won't be.
Yeah, I'm like, well, are you going to take just a really long time?
Maybe.
I'm going to play 1 minute a day.
I'll play it just piece by piece.
Okay. Question time.
Yeah.
Question time. Question time. It's time to answer the question time. Look out, here comes the question time.
Dank.
Yo, wieners. What's your favorite Disney movie and why? What's your favorite Pixar movie and why?
My favorite Pixar movie is probably Up. Why?
Funny guy. Funny old guy that reminds you of yourself.
Yeah, I think because Up is like kind of where I like gave up afterwards, because I think I watched, I don't even know what came out like after Up in like chronological order. But yeah, everything like post Up from Pixar wasn't really my jam. It's either Up or Monsters, Inc. Those are probably the two most appealing to me. Either for Up's somber beginning, or because Monsters, Inc. is about monsters and I just like monsters. And my favorite Disney movie. This is broad.
Song of the South.
Can I say like
The Rocketeer?
Does it have to be a real Disney movie, or can I pick a movie that has since been absorbed by Disney?
I would say pick a real Disney movie.
It's not The Rocketeer. The Rocketeer is really good though. Probably Hercules. I don't fucking know.
That's a great pick. Hercules is great. A lot of fun.
It's got Danny DeVito in it.
My favorite Pixar movie is WALL-E.
It's a good one.
Because, I don't know, I think WALL-E was pretty, like, woke from, like, 2008 or whatever. And it's pretty funny, and it does a lot with no dialogue for, like, the first half of the movie. Plus, the animation's still pretty killer. It's my favorite Pixar. And then my favorite Disney movie is the Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, shit. I didn't even think about Lilo and Stitch. It's also a contender for my favorite Disney movie.
And then follow up. Least favorite Pixar, least favorite Disney.
I haven't seen everything from Pixar. And I haven't seen everything from
most
Disney.
From both.
I'm going to say High School Musical for least favorite Disney.
Fuck off.
I'm being serious. Like, I just don't like High School Musical.
That's your least favorite Disney movie?
Yes, because I had to deal with, like, the pop culture shock of it. And not just one time, 3 consecutive times, like throughout my adolescence.
Yeah, it's a great movie, great trilogy.
I disagree.
Non-stop bops.
Ooh.
Ooh.
And then my least favorite Pixar. All right. Out of what I've seen, and keep in mind, like I said, I haven't seen like nearly anything post up. And I haven't seen this movie in a really long time. There are a lot of people whose opinions I respect who are like, what? This is one of the best. But I really didn't like Ratatouille when I was young.
Shit. Oh, fuck.
I will admit, I am like desperately in need of a rewatch of it. And I don't like have malice for it. It's just my least favorite out of like...
Don't tell Lucero that.
He can fucking fight me.
I love Ratatouille, but it's okay.
You don't. I won't.
And I don't like hate it
Yeah,
passionately or anything. It's just like my least favorite out of what I've seen. Because I mean, what is there? There's Toy Story 1 and 2. Maybe Toy Story 1. I don't know. Let's see.
Have you seen any of the Cars movies?
Oh fuck! Never mind. I revoke that Ratatouille statement. Give that shit to Cars or Planes.
I didn't see Planes.
I didn't see Planes either.
No, but just give it to it anyway.
I want to give it to it just off
because Dane Cook's the main character in that.
Yeah, it's a ripoff of Cars.
Dane Cook plays a plane.
And it's got Dane Cook. Yeah, fuck that movie.
My least favorite Pixar movie. I really don't like the first Cars. I'm actually okay with the second, and I think the third's actually pretty, like, good.
Never watched.
I saw the third in theaters, and I was like, what the fuck? Why is this so sad? Because it's just about your body breaking down from being old. I'm like, yikes. But I really do not like the first Cars, and I also really do not like A Bug's Life. I know a lot of people really like A Bug's Life, but I really do not like that movie.
I have like 2% memory of
2% memory, 20% luck, 10% concentrated luck.
Yeah.
5% pleasure, 20% luck, and 100% reason to grab your dice and go down to Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Man.
I haven't seen A Bug's Life in a bit, but I just remember really hating it.
Yeah.
Every time. I've seen it like 5 times, probably.
I think the thing I remember, because that's the one that has the chess game short at the beginning of it, doesn't it?
I think so. That's a good short.
Yeah, that is a good short. Just thinking about the part where he dies and then he's just like, oh, what? But he's both guys.
I would just... It's sad because I'd rather watch Ants.
The Woody Allen movie?
But Woody Allen's the main character in that. So I haven't watched Ants
since I was a kid, but I'd rather watch it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to redub all of Woody Allen's lines so I can watch it.
Didn't he write it?
Fuck, I hope not.
I'm pretty sure he did, if I remember correctly.
Oh, no. That'd be so strange.
I mean, it's okay.
Not write it.
Okay, I was going to say, like, unfortunately, there are some...
If he did, I just wouldn't watch
There are some pretty talented, shitty people out there.
Yeah. I mean, but I just don't... I don't have a problem, like, with really bad people. Like, if a director's kind of bad or done a couple bad things, I'll be like, okay, whatever, I'll watch it. But just, like, I just don't have any, like, need to watch a Woody Allen film. I just don't... I think there's enough talented directors out there that aren't shitty people that I can just be like, I'm good.
I plan on watching at least, like, his big movies at some point.
I mean, same, but I'm not, like... raring to go for it.
Yeah, that's kind of like where I sit. Basically what my philosophy on it is that you can watch it, but just don't like support it. That's kind of like my mentality on it. So like any Roman Polanski movie, I'm just gonna fucking
that's
it.
like same thing. I haven't seen any Roman Polanski.
I've only seen.
I know you're a really big fan of Victor Silva, you know.
The director of Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah.
What gives you the idea I'm a big fan of him?
Because you're wearing a shirt with his face on it, right?
No, I'm not.
No, he's terrible. I remember, you know. He doesn't make very good movies either way, though. Like, Jeepers Creepers is alright, but...
I remember really liking Jeepers Creepers when I was like a kid. Because it was one of the movies that actually kind of scared the shit out of me. Which is pretty rare.
And The Grinch.
The Grinch
saw
also
that in
scared.
theaters.
Terrifying.
The
Grinch! Oh god. But yeah, I remember the scene where like Justin Long's like down and like beneath the church and he opens up the body bag and the dude's just like
I want Justin Long to be in good movies.
Me too. Justin
It
Long
makes me so sad because he's a pretty good actor.
Justin Long, if you're listening to this, get your shit together and act in a good movie.
Don't be in Tusk 2.
Yeah, don't. I get it. Kevin
Tusk
Smith's
made me so
a nice, cool guy, but if he writes a bad movie, you gotta tell him.
Oh, Tusk made me so sad. And then my least favorite Disney movie is Pocahontas because I fucking hate Pocahontas.
I have never seen it in its entirety.
Don't.
I didn't really plan to.
I guess there's some of the music's alright, but...
Isn't that the movie they were expecting to blow up instead of Lion King?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's gross, it's revisionist, and it's racist as fuck.
Well, it's because we gotta hide the history from the kids.
Yeah. And I'm like... Why? They still release it and stuff, and I'm like, do you not see how problematic this fucking movie is? Like, you see it with, like, Song of the South. Well, that's fucking racist.
It's like, they'll, like, edit, like, the, like, really racist depictions out of, like, their, like, new releases. Like, Fantasia is, like, the big, like, example.
Pocahontas is just still sitting there.
Yeah, at least,
this
like,
movie's fucking gross, bro.
Yeah, at least, like, slap one of those labels on there that they slap onto, like,
this
the old...
movie's racist as hell.
Yeah, because they do that with, like, the old, like, their old, like, cartoons that have, like, some pretty bad depictions in them. Yep. They'll go, hey, you know, it was a different time. It was wrong then. It's wrong now. We want to preserve it and make sure that we learn from history. So we're slapping this little disclaimer at the front of the movie so you know that...
I think they just don't want to admit that is, like, late as, like, 20 years ago. They were still putting out shit that was gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are my least favorite. On to Pierre's questions. Pierre!
Oh.
If you could insert a musical number into any movie, what would it be? Where would you put a musical number in?
Like...
Just randomly.
Just randomly? I would probably insert another musical number into Little Shop of Horrors. Because I feel like that movie is one song short of perfection. Because in the stage show, there is a song called Mushnik and Son. But I feel like, A, it gives... Mr. Mushnik a song to like perform on, and B, it sets up the whole like Mushnik adoption process where they're going to become like a Pops and Son flower shop, and they even reference it in the movie because in Feed Me Get It, there's like a part where he's like, "You think this is all coincidence, pal? The sudden success around here, the adoption papers," like he brings it up, but they never have anything like referring to the adoption into the final cut of the movie. And it's like, you know, they could just put that song in there. It explains everything, but they didn't. So that's probably my answer.
I mean, I would probably just put another musical number in a musical.
Yeah.
I don't really have any, like, it'd be funny to put it into something else, but I don't think it would add to anything off the top of my head. There might be, like, some, like, comedy that I could think of that'd be funny. Like, they went into a dream and they like, oh, musical!
Yeah.
Then they woke up and they had like cum all over their chest. But
I don't know. Just add another song to Phantom of the Paradise. More Paul Williams.
Yes. There are a couple songs that he just released on his own, his own albums that he had written for the movie that didn't make it in.
Pop one in.
You and Me Against the World is one of them. In case you're curious. That's like the only one that comes off the top of my head, though. I know there is another one, though.
Are you ready for the second question?
I don't like how serious you look, but yeah.
What product placement would you put in a racer garbage movie head?
None.
I would put like a giant billboard in the, when he's like walking through like just the like kind of ruined buildings. He's like walking in front. I put a giant billboard for like number 2 pencils, but it'd be like the racer head is showing.
That'd probably be okay.
That
wouldn't be too offensive.
Or just like, as he dies, the baby head comes out, right? And then he like holds up a can of Coca-Cola. And then it cuts to black. Or David Lynch comes out and he goes, "Drink some Coke."
That would be the most like ironic thing, because he's the one who's like, there's like footage out there from an interview where it's like, what do you think of like paid product placement in movies? He's like, I think it's fucking bullshit.
Oh, David Lynch. Never change. All right, Hinatea's first question. Which one of you tops? You can.
Okay. Apparently,
I'm not a top. I'm just tall. People just assume I'm a top. Nah, not about that life. Too much work. Okay. Hinatea's second question. What's your favorite movie trope? And what's your least favorite movie trope?
My least favorite movie trope is the forced romance plot.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Too many movies, it was more prevalent in like anywhere up until like the 90s, but it's still there in a lot of movies now, but they're getting better.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases.
My favorite movie trope?
I'm going to look up a list of movie tropes real quick.
Let's see. Because traditionally tropes are something that I'm not a huge fan of. Unless they like subvert my expectations on the trope or something. Maybe like a good climactic one-liner?
Yeah, I'll just agree with you. Like tropes they're fine in a lot of cases, but like I don't like have a favorite. I'm not like going into a movie and going, "Oh, I hope they have some really great puns in this movie."
Yeah, I think like, especially like with horror fans, I feel like they're the ones who like worship tropes the most, because they're like, you gotta have
the final girl. You gotta have the final girl. If she's not in it, then I'm not gonna watch it. You better have her be a virgin.
Oh my! I've never seen
pure Cabin in the Woods.
Oh yeah, I guess.
Even though she wasn't a virgin, the idea of the virgin is the trope, though.
Yeah.
Good movie.
But you don't like that movie?
No, I do. Oh. I was just thinking. Have you ever seen Monster Squad?
Is that the one from like the 80s with the kids?
Yeah, and it's got.
Yeah, I saw it like once. I think, and like when I was like 15. I don't really remember it. I remember like liking it enough, but.
There's a bit in that movie where they need like a virgin to like spawn this portal that'll like send all the monsters away. And they're like, well, we'll just have like our teenage sister do it. And she's like, I'm not a virgin. So they're like, who's a virgin? And they've got like this like little like 6-year-old girl, and they like look at her and it's like, well, no shit, but.
Aren't all of them virgins though?
I think it has to be a girl because it's an 80s movie.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah. So it's my favorite trope is the one where they subvert tropes.
Yeah. Oh.
Whoa!
Wow.
London subverting your expectations on the podcast. Do
Epic.
Epic. Okay. Well, we got through the questions. Now it's time for Thomas's tinkle time.
Thomas's tinkle time, huh?
Where he tinkles on his movie idea.
Okay. Okay. So this takes place in like the early 2000s, late 90s, and it's called The Exorcism of the Family Computer. And basically, it follows like this like suburban kind of like dorky white family, and their like teenage son is like watching porn on a risque site and downloads a demonic virus onto the computer. And the computer monitor like breaks, and it's got like shards of like teeth, and it's like a mouth, and it uses like the mouse as like a arm. And they're like, I don't know what's wrong with this computer. We better call an IT guy and a priest. And it's like The Exorcist.
It's not an IT guy and it's both, right? He's both. It's like a priest that also happens to work in IT.
No, it's two different guys.
It should be one guy and it should be played by Pierre.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to give up my artistic integrity.
Can it be played by... They're the exact same actor, though.
I'll settle
It's
for that.
Pierre.
Yeah,
He's the priest and he's an IT guy.
Yeah, fine. That works.
And the computer!
There we go. Pierre can play every character.
Yes! No, but I like your idea. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
It reminds me of... I don't know why. It reminds me of... Stay Tuned a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Almost.
Yeah, just
a
kinda,
smidge.
Yeah.
It's because it's got the demonic possession
demonic
of
TV,
like the technology.
Yeah. Or like Transform.
Or that, yeah.
Or G-Force. With the guinea pigs.
Oh, yeah.
That's what the main villain does.
Oh, does he?
He makes all the technology go evil.
I saw trailers for
Nicolas
it.
Cage is in that.
Huh?
Nicolas Cage is in that.
Is he?
I think he's one of the guinea pigs. Or he's the
Seems
villain.
right?
Yeah, he's in it, though. He's in the Astro Boy movie as well.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. I want to say he's the doctor in it or something.
Huh.
He's like a pretty prevalent. I'm like, huh. Okay, you ready for my idea?
Lay it on.
Fuck. Okay, you ready for this? It's a guy. He finds... It's this guy. He's like squatting in a house. He's homeless, right? But he's like a really nice guy, and he like is squatting in this house that's like kind of abandoned, and he finds behind like a brick, he finds like a letter to like just someone, and it's addressed, but obviously it had been kept there. And he's like, well, I'm not doing anything with my life. So he wants to like take this letter where it needs to go, but it's like across the country. So he's just like walking across the country. And it's just, like a fun little look, I'm homeless movie. Fun.
Sounds like a family picture.
Yeah. And it'll be Pierre.
Man.
And
That's
Joe.
epic.
He meets Joe on the road.
Joe's the person he finally delivers the letter to.
Yeah. Joe plays like an old woman who's like, oh, thank you.
Oh, I've been looking for this.
My husband Thomas left me when he went to the Korean War. Yeah, so those are our movie ideas.
Yeah.
And, we're going to take a small break and come back, coming at you with The Church.
So The Church.
The Church by Michael Sovey, I think his name is. Kind of goofy.
Yeah.
Kind of wacky.
A little bit.
Yeah, Sovey. Michelle Sovey. Who worked pretty closely with Dario Argento for a couple of years.
I can kind of see that.
Dario Argento helped write the script for this.
I can also kind of
His
see
daughter's
that.
in it.
his daughter wasn't.
Is a pretty prominent role in it as well.
Yeah.
And she's actually not bad.
Yeah, I thought she was pretty good for a child actor.
Yeah.
Way better.
She was like 14 in it, and I'm like, hey, look at this.
Way better than I think she tends to be as an adult actor. So
I haven't seen her in most stuff, so.
The stuff I've only seen her in like a small handful of things, to be fair. And she doesn't do like a bad job. It's just kind of like just standard.
So, The Church, 1989, I believe, is a funky film. So it starts off, we're in like the medieval times, probably like 1400s, 1500s. I don't know if they put a date. And it has like a group of like knights, like Templars. They're like, and they're shaped, they're like, and they find a guy, and he's doing a little dance. He has like a torch, and he's like, over here! Yeah. He like literally like sounds like that too. He's like, over here, come here! And you're like, this way, and he leads them through a cave, and through the cave are a bunch of women. So you know something's afoot.
Oh, of course.
And one of them like wraps her foot up. And the guys are like, they're witches! And the main knight walks up. And she like takes off his helmet and he looks all scary. He's like, ooh.
Yeah.
He has like dirt all over his face and he like puts his hand up to her face. And she's like, oh, it's gonna be okay. And then he just kind of breaks her face.
Yeah.
His hand's so strong that he just...
Does the Jason Voorhees grab.
And, blood spurts and she dies. And they unwrap her foot and they see on the bottom of her foot is like a scar that's like a cross. And it's like, this is the curse of them. They're demons.
Kill them all.
Yeah, so they kill all of these people.
I thought this was probably like the best scene in the movie was like this. Not the part where he like crushes her face, but the part where they're like slaying the town. Because I was like, it almost reminded me of like a Jodorowsky movie there for a minute. Cause
it like in the beginning of El Topo when it looks like what would have happened in that town when everyone got slaughtered. I did really like this scene.
The one part specifically is like there's a part where they're like carrying like this dead woman on like just this like stick, and it's like.
Yeah, holy shit! I remember that. They're like putting people on stakes. They're like they're killing these people, women and like children, like small girls.
Yeah,
and they're just throwing them into like this pit. And there's one person that's like has like a wicker basket as like a mask that's like hiding and looking and like tries to sneak out of the town. But they're throwing all these dead bodies in like a pit, and they're slowly covering it up with dirt. And, like, there's people that are, like, still alive, like, trying to reach out. And they're like, they're trying to come back to life. Quick, fill it up.
Yeah.
And they're saying that, like, they have to build a church over it to keep the demons at bay. And the person with the wicker basket is, like, hiding in the bushes, like, nearby. And a duck walks up.
Yeah.
And just starts quacking.
It's like the fucking crow.
It's like the crow in Antichrist, yeah. And so they find the girl. They take off her wicker basket mask, and it's Argento. And then it cuts.
Yep.
Like, what happened? Obviously, you can infer probably dead, but you never know.
Yeah.
And it cuts to present day. So, like, 1989.
Yep.
And it's in, like, Italy or some shit. It was originally supposed to be filmed, Dario, like, they wanted to film it in, I think, Nuremberg.
Oh.
But Nuremberg's like, we don't want a horror film here. We got enough shit that's happened here.
Yeah.
I'm like, fair enough. So they're at this big church, and it follows, there's a couple key players in the film. It mostly follows a guy named Evan for the first bit. He is a librarian. What?
Huh?
What did you say?
I said he's a librarian.
What did you say?
I said he's lame.
I mean, yeah, he's just kind of weird.
Yeah, I thought
he's like supposed to be this like smooth, cool dude that's like impressing the ladies, but he's also this like giant nerd. He doesn't know how to talk to women except go, "Hey, weren't we supposed to get a coffee?"
Yeah. I didn't like him, and I didn't like the restoration woman.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Gus fan myself.
Father Gus?
Yes.
Yes, because he was in Star Wars Episode 1.
Was he?
Yeah, he's the main Naboo guard in it.
Okay. Yeah, as soon as you said that, he's the dude with the hat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what his name is, but yes, he's like a pretty key. And so as soon as I saw him, and I'm like, holy shit! No, I thought
he looked familiar.
Yeah, and he was a good character. Both him and Dario Argento were both good characters.
Yeah, those were the two that I.
Once the thing happened to Evan, I liked him more.
Yeah, I think
he was a different character.
Yeah, the first 2/3 of the movie was pretty slow, but once he got into that last third, it started.
Yeah, it's like time to go crazy. So there's 4 key players. Father Gus, who's a black priest.
Yes.
There's obviously a bit of racism going on. You can see with the other priests. Dario Argento, who's the daughter of... I can't remember his official title. He's just another father that works at the church, though. But he had a certain name. It was Sopastane or something. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Evan, who's a librarian that's just starting. And what was the woman's name? The restoration painter.
Yeah, I don't remember her name.
Oh, yeah, Lisa.
Ah.
And then there was the bishop, who was kind of this overarching, he's like, I'm old.
Yes.
So Evans, first day before he's late, but before he even starts, he wants to hit on the woman. Yep. So they hit on each other. He's like, we guys should get some coffee later. And then he sets off to work. And, he's a librarian. All he's doing is he's cataloging books because everything's old. But the main thing is that Dario Argento, she's sneaking out and about of the church. She knows all the hidden passages.
Yeah.
And this will come into play later.
Yeah. I didn't like this introduction scene. Even before the evil plague starts coming out, I'm like, ooh, this creepy guy. Because he's down on the ground next to Dario Argento, who's 12 or 13.
She was 14 and she just looked young. 14 is still young.
Yeah.
He was still creepy, but I was maybe Dario Argento's I was for a second, I'm like, maybe she's an adult in this and she just looks really young.
That's what I was like.
But I'm just no, she's 14.
Yeah.
He's just supposed to be creepy. I think he was just supposed to be creepy the whole time.
Because they insinuated, it seemed like she had a crush on him.
And I'm like, why? He's a nerd.
And she's like, close your eyes. Come here, come closer. I gotta whisper in your ear.
And it's I don't want a child to whisper in my ear. That's some creepy shit.
Yeah, if I was in that situation where I'm a librarian, I come into this library, I find this 14-year-old girl who's under the desk, and she's like, "Close your eyes, come down here." I'd be like, "What's all this about? Get out from under there. You want to whisper in my ear? Whisper up here." That, or I'd do that thing where it's they're like, "Close your eyes and whisper in my ear," and I'd just throw my ear at them to make sure they don't
hit them, you'd headbutt them.
Just whack them with the ear side of my head,
and then punch him in the face.
So why are you gonna fucking?
So he starts cataloging, but then the restoration lady, she gets a call from down below in the basement.
Yeah,
where they're trying to restore all this old shit because foundations, if they crumble, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And they're trying to dig down, but they find that it's hollow, there's a giant cave beneath them. So we can't do anymore. And she's like, oh, okay, just leave it, we'll figure out something, kind of thing. And so he goes back down too, and he's like, when are we gonna get that coffee?
Yeah.
And she's like, soon. Or I think she says now, and they go to get the coffee. It's nighttime.
Yeah, because originally, no, what happened was he comes down and he's like, when are we going to get that coffee? And she's still the other guys are still there and she's still in charge of them. And she's like, well, hold on just a second. I got to take care of this. And then he's like, well, I don't see why. And then she's like, you're right. All right, guys, go home. We'll take care of this later. And it's oh my God. Are you fucking serious?
And then they go to get coffee.
Yep.
And then they have sex.
Yep.
I was like, why? It's not that I even really cared. I'm just why? it didn't even really feel forced to me. It was more just I don't care about these characters.
Yeah, that was pretty much.
I was like, bring me some more Father Gus. We cut to Father Gus. Priests are being racist, and then we cut to Dario Argento. She's sneaking out to go on the town. She like goes into the basement and she like comes out. We don't really know how. She just kind of like shows up outside the church because regularly should only be one way in and out of the church, and that's the big front door.
Yep.
But she knows a way. So then the next day, same thing. He's cataloging. The bishop's walking around being old, and the restoration lady finds she's trying to like, I don't know what the fuck she's doing to the wall. She's just kind of like doing this. She's kind of like plastering something that's not going to be plastered. But she finds a piece of paper
document.
Yeah, and she like pulls on it, and like a hole falls. But she gets this piece of paper, and it's like a big parchment. It's like a circular parchment. And it's like it's in code. And she gives it to the guy, Evan. And he's like, don't tell the bishop. I want to figure it out first. And she's like, I should probably tell the bishop. He's like, don't do it. And she's like, okay. So it cuts to that night again. And they're in a taxi together. And he's talking about code. And he's talking about like the old like Templars and Knights. And they were the ones that were shown at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
He talks about how they were part of like an elite squad.
They were like
demon hunters and witch hunters. Like they were in charge of killing like witches.
Yeah, and
quote unquote.
He brings up the fact they were like
Hitler loved them.
Yeah, Hitler kind of like based the
Iron Cross was based on their cross. So, not super good dudes, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's hinted at that, like, maybe the people they killed at the church actually were, demons. We don't know. Like, what? So he's still trying to figure out this code. He can't really figure it out. So what to do but have sex with Lisa again. So him and Lisa are going at it.
Yep.
When he, like, post-coming, he, like, looks over at it, which is on the table or something, and he sees a reflective like cup or something.
See, when I was like watching it, because there's that scene where he's like initially studying it before he goes to have sex with Lisa one more time, and he's like smoking his cigarette near it, and I'm like, that's just a bad idea. And he like sets it down in an ashtray, but he doesn't like put it out. And then when he looks over, there's like a big thing of smoke. I'm like, oh, it caught fire. But then he goes over. I'm like, oh, no, that's just like from a candle that was over there.
Yeah. So not only did he put a cigarette by it, but there was also a lit candle by it.
Yeah. It's just like,
I was like, man, I kind of would, if it had burned, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
He was trying to save them by being dumb.
Too bad he wasn't dumb enough.
He figures out that a reflective cup, he's like, oh, it's a reflection. So he starts reading this like Latin that was actually just like inverted upside down or something. And he's like, blah, blah, blah. I have to find the stone with 7 eyes or something like that. I think that's what he said. The beast
with 7 eyes or something like that, yeah.
And so he knows like what to look for. And that night,
yeah.
Or no, it's the next day. He like plans to meet with Lisa. She's like, okay, let's meet. I think she gives him a key to like her cabin. Like they're gonna meet at this cabin later. And she's like, okay, let's meet. Don't be too late. And he's like, okay. And then he goes to the basement and he starts like digging around.
Yep. He's just like, I'm gonna find it. And he does find this stone with 7 eyes. It's like kind of like a Hydra or something, or it looks maybe like sort of like Medusa with like 7 eyes.
It's like a Baphomet head that like
a Baphomet,
that has
like
7 eyes.
I couldn't remember what Baphomet's name was. Yeah, so he's like, well, this is kind of cool. And it's on this like giant like cross that's on the ground, which you saw earlier in the film when they first dug this mass grave for these witches.
Yes.
And he like pulls up the stone, and there's a big hole.
Yes.
And he sees like the cross like fall completely, and it's this giant hole, and this glowing blue light looks up at him, and he like reaches down and picks up a bag, and he's like, "Wow, a bag!" And he opens the bag, and hands start grabbing him from inside the bag. And he's like, "Ah, hands!" And then you see him just by himself, and it's just him grabbing himself, and he's like having a hallucination.
Yep.
And then suddenly everything's okay, and there's just a singular hole, and the whole cross didn't fall, and it was just that one hole that he made. And he's like, "What the fuck happened?" And he sees that there was like a little like knife, like a little sharp point on this hole that he had cut his hand really badly on. He's like, "What the fuck?" But obviously something's about to go down.
Yes.
Yeah. And that it does. He starts to lose his mind. He attempts to call Lisa on a payphone, but cannot. He's like...
And he kind of dies, but...
Yeah, he pulls out his heart.
Yeah.
That was some good heart.
It was.
His heart, the prosthetics looked pretty good in this movie.
All the special effects looked pretty good.
I was like, whoa!
I think there was only like one or two things in terms of like the gore where I was like, and that was the cross at the beginning of the movie that we see on the sole of the girl's foot.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's obviously really cheap prosthetic.
Yeah, it looked like they taped it on right then. Pop!
Yep. And then a part later where someone's like ringing the bell with like a decapitated head.
That was goofy as fuck, but
Yeah.
I liked it. It looked goofy as fuck, but I was like, what the... So he's like going crazy. He rips out his heart. Obviously, he's like not human anymore.
Yeah.
And then Lisa, she's hanging out at the house. She's waiting for him when suddenly she hears like crashing, or she hears something outside. She looks out the window.
The scene reminded me a lot of the scene from Drag Me to Hell when she's being like stalked by the demon in her house.
I see. I need to rewatch that movie so badly. I haven't seen it in like 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a good while since I've seen it too. But yeah, she hears like that. It's the galloping, isn't it, that she hears?
Yeah, she hears galloping.
Her and Asia Argento.
Yeah, Asia Argento had been saying like, "Do you hear the horses?" That's when she was like ringing the bell, like when she was under the desk. She's like, "Do you hear the horses? The horses!"
Oh, gee, I wonder what horses she's talking about. Probably like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Or just the horses of the nights.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Like, because even Father Gus, he sees I don't know if he saw the night, like, there's a point, I don't know where it is, it's probably right around here where you see him, like, going archery training. He's, like, training with archery, and he, like, I don't know if it was implying that he had, like, the spirit of, like, a Templar in his soul or something, because it would cut to, like, a Templar running on a horse while he was, like, shooting. Or that, like, he could sense them as well. But it was one or the other. So he was connected to it as well. And Evan just kind of got fucked for being an idiot.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm going to go digging by myself." So he's going crazy.
Oh, also when he was... Because I think it happens when he first digs it up, but he attacks Asia Argento's dad's character. Not...
Oh, yes.
not Dario Argento, but her dad in the story.
Yeah, he sees her, like, sneak out, and then he's, like, hiding, and then her dad comes in. Dario Argento in the movie, no?
What, was it played by Dario Argento?
No, I just thought it should have been.
Except, now that I think about it, I don't know what Dario Argento looks like.
I mean, it's not too far off. He looks kind of funny. He kind of looks like a vampire. No. This is what he looks like. It's kind of an old picture, but...
Huh.
No, the... Sacristan, that was the name. That was his name. He's the sacristan, which I don't know what that means.
Means
some kind of religious title.
sacrilegious.
He's a stand for sacrilege. I stand sacrilege. But she gets it. He beats the shit out of the dad.
Yeah, and apparently it's like a physical contact kind of.
Yeah, this curse is like a physical contact thing.
Which I found that extremely confusing because it seemed like sometimes people would like get it through like just physical contact, and sometimes it seemed like there had to be more of like.
I think it was.
I think it has to be
just like a scrape or a cut.
Or break the skin.
Yeah, because I think all of them did. Like, they had, like, little outs. Oh, yeah, he hurt my little head or something.
Yeah, because I know there's the scene later on.
It gets crazy, so... but he hits the dad, and then... Lisa's attacked in her house, but she's able to call the police. And then they show up instantaneously.
Yeah.
Like, she runs outside... and runs into the cop, and she bites the cop's hand. He's like, oh!
He's like, hey, whoa!
What the fuck?
If that happened, if that was a black person, they would be dead.
Oh, yeah.
America. I guess this isn't America, though, so maybe not, but I mean, there's still like racist.
That cop, one of those cops was played by the director.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of a fun little tidbit. But she's like, he's in there. There was nobody in there, though. So it cuts to the next day.
And
things are about to go from bad to worse.
Yeah, this scene was disgusting. This is probably like the most like vile scene in the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, like this is probably about 45 minutes in. And like, the first 45 minutes are pretty slow. I didn't hate it or anything, but it's definitely, but then the last 45 minutes just kind of go crazy.
Yeah.
So... how to put this delicately?
Well, okay. So Lisa
goes to she's downstairs, or she's in like the library.
Yeah.
And
she's talking to Evan.
She's just talking to him.
Didn't you hear what happened to me last night?
He's like, you were attacked? And they're just talking, and then he tries to touch her.
She says
they kiss for a little. And then she's like, not right here. And he's like, come on. And then he attempts to
rape her.
She like punches him in the face or like hits him in the head with something.
Yeah.
And then she runs off.
And then while like for the very tail end of this, when just the point where like she's running off, Asia Argento's character is coming down the stairs and she's like, what's up with Lisa? He's like, I don't know.
Women.
Yeah.
That's he literally is just like, I guess it's just a woman problem or something. I'm like,
yeah. And she just doesn't react to it.
Because I don't think she really liked her, so she's probably just like, she's kind of crazy anyway.
Yeah.
And then he proceeds to do the same thing.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit in between. There's like that part where he's like, because she's like listening to music and he's over on the other side of the room at the typewriter.
Just like
666.
That was a good, actually I thought was pretty good acting. The way like his body was moving, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I thought he gave a good performance as soon as like it got to the more demonic shit. He's definitely.
I think he wasn't even. I don't think he was bad in the first part. I think it was just the script that was.
Yeah,
I don't know what he would do with this, being like, you want to go get some coffee?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like leaning over and he's just like rapidly tapping the 6, and suddenly he like sits up straight and he's like, what is Asia Argento's character's name?
I don't remember.
Lottie.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
Lottie. And she's like, yeah? She's like, Lottie, will you open the window? I'm like, run.
Yeah, so
she opens the window.
And
then he attempts to rape her.
Yep, and then she
and she gets away as well. And she runs, and she tries to tell her father.
And her father's already infected with the
her
evil
father's
plague.
Infected. And he's like,
don't say that.
He's like, Evan's a good man. And her mother's just terrible. Like, her mother just she's just absent throughout the whole movie. Like, no matter what's going on. Because
there's that scene earlier.
Herman, the father, was like a terrible dad in the first place and was like washing her mouth out with soap, he was abusing her the entire movie, and she just doesn't care.
Yeah, well, the soap bit happens here.
Yeah.
Earlier, when she had like first got out, there was a scene we forgot to mention where she like comes back home and her dad like slaps her, And he's like, how'd you get out? And she's like, and like runs into the room. And then the wife's just like, come to bed, honey.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, piece of shit parents award goes to you guys.
Yeah, seriously.
So yeah, then he's basically, don't say that, I'm going to teach you not to say naughty things. And he like goes hardcore with some soap on her mouth. And then she escapes and runs outside, runs past Gus. And Gus is like,
Lottie.
Yeah.
Lottie.
And she's just too fucking frantic to stop.
So
and she bumps into
down.
somebody in a wedding dress.
Yeah. And then outside, this is actually pretty key. There's, going into the church, there's like a school trip they're going in, and then outside there's people taking pictures. They're like in wedding gowns, but it's obviously for a magazine, and they're going into the church, and they're like, aren't we gonna get in trouble for this? And they're like, we'll just say we're in a wedding. We just got married. So
yeah,
they like convince Gus to let them take some pictures. He's like, I'm busy, so whatever, just be quiet.
Yeah.
And then
he goes to, or no, I think the next part, the dad, like, he sees the dad, like, run.
Yeah, he sees, he goes to confession.
Yeah.
And this was a good scene. I really like the rest of the movie, pretty much.
Yeah, basically from this point on, the movie was pretty good.
So, he's in confession, and the father, Herman, is on the other side, and he's like, I've done bad stuff. He's like, the Lord won't look at me anymore.
He's like,
I'm hearing stuff. And he's like, I know who you are. And I'm like, shouldn't you not be saying that? But whatever.
Yeah,
like, he's trying to help him. But Herman's like going crazy on him. He's like, I'm not him anymore. I'm not him anymore. And he like runs out and he scratches up a bunch of people on the way.
Yeah.
Which will come into play. There's like an old woman with her husband as well.
Yeah. And he runs
and he like runs downstairs.
Yeah.
And Gus follows him, and he like gets downstairs just to see him finishing impaling himself with a jackhammer. And there's blood everywhere, and you see it like seep into like a bunch of like cauldrons and stuff.
Yep, it does the cabin in the woods thing where
it activates the church.
Yep.
Which
basically
it puts it into lockdown, so like the doors close and people can't get out.
Yep, and the woman in the wedding dress.
The woman in the wedding dress is like stuck in the door.
Like the dress is, not her.
Yeah. Like, well, she's kind of stuck.
Well, she's stuck in the dress, and she's like, just get me the fuck out of here. And her
fucking breathe, bro.
And her fucking
the
business partner, friend, whatever, is like, no. That dress costs too much money. You can just stay there for a few more minutes. And she's like literally like having like a panic attack. She's like,
I would be too. I'd be like, what the fuck? I'd be like, I'm about to rip this shit.
Yeah, I'd be like, dude, I'm just gonna get out of this fucking dress.
Yeah. So this activates the church, and then Gus is like, what the fuck? So he goes to find the father, the preacher. What was the fuck?
The
bishop.
Oh, no, the bishop.
The Herman was already dead.
Yeah.
So he finds the bishop. He's like, Bishop, we have problems. He's like, we have worse problems now.
Yeah.
Because like a note had appeared and like flipped over in one of the like exhibits, and it was like, if you see this message for me, that means that you shall die before 3. That's not what it said, but it was something similar to that. It's saying that, like, if you see this message, then that means the church is locked down. Like, we had to do this as a last attempt to, like, stop the demons. And we see he had, like, all those, like ancient, or not ancient, but all those like old papers from when the church was like constructed that basically like tells the story of what went down and how to stop it. Yeah, we see more of that in a little bit.
And he's an asshole.
Now, Bishop is like, he's like wandering off and goes like, well, I better go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I guess that happens first. Yeah. They go to like the top of the church.
Yeah.
And the bishop is wandering around. He's like, these are my papers. And Gus is like, I need to save them. The bishop is saying that like he needs to use there's a button or like there's something you can press, which had been hinted at by a child before. He had been like, there's a button you can press in most churches that brings the whole building down. I'm like, excuse me? It's like a safety precaution in case of like wars or something. So the bishop wants to do that, and Gus is like, no, we have to find another way. Let me see that. And the bishop is like, no, these are my papers. He literally sounds like that. He sounds like a goblin.
Yeah.
He's like, these are my papers. I have the power. And he's like ripping them up, and Gus is like trying to catch them, and then the bishop like falls off the top of the roof, and he goes like, ah!
And lands like on the fucking like spiked fence.
Like a spiked fence. Like, oh.
God!
Yeah.
What do I do? Gus's little hammy moment there, but I loved it.
And then we cut back to people going crazy.
Yeah, basically the infection is like
so
gone.
I don't remember which happens like in which order, but so I'll just do it all I can remember. So the kids are going kind of crazy. There's one kid that got cut. He steals the teacher's glasses, and she can't see without them. So she's like looking around, and he puts them like right next to the like wedding dress lady, and she's being cut out of the dress as we speak. And then suddenly Herman, who we thought was dead, or was it Herman that did this?
It was Herman.
Herman like shows up, and he's still alive, and he grabs like a spiked fence from like one of the exhibits, and he starts like running it towards the
wedding dress lady.
Yeah, and the wedding dress lady gets out of the way just in time, just for she gets out. Yeah. Because it's just the teacher that dies.
I see what I thought had happened, because I didn't see the part where she got away, but I saw the part where like the wedding dress lady's like, oh fuck, and then the fucking glasses teacher lady just stands up last second.
Yeah, she gets cut out right at the like last moment. She runs out.
I didn't see
so
that.
So it's just the teacher like she's like ah!
Yeah.
She just dies, and then Herman just kind of runs off. I think.
Yeah, I did.
I don't think he's ever seen in the movie again.
Yeah, I was gonna say
obviously he dies, but
yeah.
So that happens, and then everyone's still freaking out because they're trying to get out.
There's that part,
and then there's these two. There's one kid that like gets behind like this plastic wrap and is like trying to get out and like suffocates behind it. And I'm like, what the fuck? And
there's
then
like the two best friend kids who are sitting down, and one of them's like, I can feel it in me.
Oh yeah,
it's like the evil that's spreading. Get out of here! No, don't go. Stay. And it's like they like bring up like that line that they heard.
Yeah, there's some people that are just like kind of going like nuts, but they're not like attacking anyone. They're just kind of like dying.
Yeah,
like the guy, the like groom in the wedding photos. Like he gets infected, but I don't think he does anything. I think he just kind of.
We honestly, I feel like we don't see what happens to like everybody. Yeah. I feel like a lot of it's just kind of like
implied death. But
yeah,
we do see this like girlfriend boyfriend. And they are trying to get out, like, through the tunnels below. They find, like, a tunnel, and they're, like, following it. And eventually they get to, like, kind of a pit. They, like, fall in, and they're like, what? We're trapped. He's like, wait. And he's like, hitting down. He's like, it's hollow.
Yeah.
So he, like, grabs, like, a crowbar or something. He's, like, trying to break it open, and he, like, breaks a hole in. And his girlfriend, like, falls down. He, like, grabs her arm. He's like, hold on. And she's holding on, and she sees something in the distance. And he's, like, down there with her. He's like, oh, hold on. He's trying to get her up.
Yeah, because he's barely hitting on, too.
Yeah, he's
got,
holding,
like, crowbar.
Yeah, he's, like, holding on to one thing, and she sees something in the distance. She sees, like, a light, and then she sees another. And she's like, what is that? And then a fucking subway train just demolishes both of them. And I'm like, whoa! I'm like, I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking like zombies were gonna get them, like they were in like the cavern or something. But I was like, oh, the subway.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the light, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what's coming.
Once I saw two lights, I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. But before that, I just assumed, zombies, zombie witches, demons,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Lisa's been captured.
Yeah.
And she's downstairs with all the crazy people, which we'll see more of soon from Gus. But the final thing is the old woman and the man go up, and she's like, we should ring the bell. And they go, and he's like, there's no thing to ring the bell. And she's like, I got the perfect thing. And then it cuts back like 3 minutes later, and she's banging his decapitated head on the bell.
Yeah.
And I think Gus is like, why's the bell ringing?
Yeah, and that's around the point
when... and I think Asia Argento, she had been out like partying.
Because that's when they show the head, is because she's trying to get back into the church, and she's like, the door is shut, and then you hear the dong, dong, dong.
Yeah. So she sneaks back in, obviously.
Yeah.
And she, like, meets up with Gus, and he's like, you gotta get out of here. And he's interpreted the messages as well. And we see like a flashback to like the architect who had built the church, and like all these priests around him are like torturing him.
Yeah.
And they're like, you have to stay here. The secret must be kept with you.
Yeah.
So they like shove this thing in his mouth.
And they think he's like an alchemist.
Yeah. He's like, you just say it's a demon for anything you don't understand.
Yeah.
Potion seller. This was just like the Potion Seller movie.
Yeah.
So they see him. He dies. But Gus like knows where he dies. He knows like how to stop everything. But he gets Asia Argento out. He's like, you need to leave. I'll stop this. And he's like sneaking by, and she sneaks out. But he also sees like Lisa is being fucked. She's being sexually assaulted by a demon, which is Evan, but it's like full demon mode.
Yeah, we saw it once earlier in the movie when she was at her house and she was attacked by that thing, or being
like a brief moment.
For a brief second in the window, we see the goat's head.
Yeah, but now he's like full goat, full wings.
Yeah, full.
And there's just a bunch of people just standing around staring.
Chanting.
Yeah. So Gus is like, I have to end this. So he finds the grave of the dude, which was like in one of the exhibits, like underneath.
It's the one where the bishop was always like hanging out.
Yeah, and it's where the Herman
took the fence from.
Where he got the fence. Yeah, it's like
it's
the
also
focal
message
point of
flipped up.
Yeah, it's like where everything.
It's the hub.
Yeah. And Gus brings down the house.
Yeah. I really liked it when they like opened up the thing and you like saw like the corpse with like the big piece in its mouth. I thought that like looked really good.
Yeah, and then he like rips it out and the church starts falling to the ground. People are dying, and we see it cuts to like everyone is dead.
Well, there's also the part where I don't remember exactly where this happened. I think it happens when he's like pulling out the thing from the dude's mouth, but like the people that were buried, like the witches, come up and they're like this big like bloody thing.
He like pulls it out and he's like trying to stop it, and then there's like giant orb of like dead people. Like it looks kind of like the tree from Antichrist, but if it wasn't even a tree, it was just like a giant legion of like bodies. It looked great.
Yeah.
That looked fantastic.
I was like,
what
holy
the
shit,
bro. And then the church falls apart.
Yeah.
And everything seems fine. And then it cuts to Asia Argento. It's probably like a year later or something.
Yeah.
And she's like looking at the ruins, and she like sees something in the corner, and it's the statue with 7 eyes, and she lifts it up, and she sees the blue light, and then she smiles, and the movie ends.
And a funny story, I was watching this, and I had to like go to work, and I still had like the last like minute of the movie left, and I saw the point where it was like Asia Argento is like back at the church, and I'm like, do I even need to like watch the last minute of this at work? I know exactly what's gonna fucking happen here. And then I went to work, and on one of my breaks, I watched the last like 30 seconds. I'm like, exactly what I thought was gonna happen happened.
Yeah.
The
ending didn't like ruin it for me, but
no, me neither.
It didn't need to be. Like I wouldn't have cared either way. Like
either
would have been a fine ending. As long as it wasn't like it would have been really dumb if it was like something that like grabbed her or something.
Yeah.
But her just smiling was probably the best way to go about that route for the church to. It's not a thing. Did you know that this movie was originally Demons 3?
That doesn't surprise me because I was watching it and I haven't seen Demons, but I'm aware of it. I'm like, this reminds me so much of what I've heard of Demons. And
it was released some places as Demons 3, I believe. But it doesn't like...
I'm sure it's probably like Italy where...
Yeah. It doesn't like take place, like none of the events are related to the first two Demons movies. So.
I've seen Night of the Demons, which is basically like the American Demons remake.
Oh, was it bad?
Kind of. It's like a corny 80s horror movie. It's got its silver lining, but it's got a lot of bad bits. Then they remade it with Edward Furlong. Yeah, it's interesting. It's not like a direct remake, but it's so freaking like similar in its premise of like what the demons are. And like the demons even kind of look similar. So it's like, But, when this movie first started, I was like, I don't know about this. Well, this movie is weird because the first few minutes, I'm like, this is kind of corny. And then I got to that like brutal, savage,
the first few minutes, I'm like, this doesn't look real. Like it looks super cheesy, super fake. But then like the brutality went up and there was some pretty good prosthetics. I'm like, why does this look like 10 times better?
Yeah.
And then once it got back to like present day, like it was okay.
It sagged for a while.
Yeah, it sagged.
Though.
I never like hated it though. I was like, this is fine.
I hated the two main, not Gus, but Evan and Lisa. I was like, eh.
Yeah, I feel it.
But I was able to like latch on to Argento's character.
Yeah. Good old Father Gus.
And then Father Gus, started like getting more prevalent in the story. It's like, yes, okay. And the whole like last third of it, I was very pleased with.
Yeah. No, I pretty much feel the same way. I did really like the music for the most part.
Yeah, the soundtrack is really great.
Like a third of it.
Yeah.
And I could tell as soon as the Goblin soundtrack started playing because I'm like,
yeah, the synth just like, bow, bow, and it's just like, yes, Goblin.
But I feel like I would have enjoyed the movie more if like, honestly, if Lisa wasn't really a character. Maybe if it was just about Father Gus and Evan, then I think Evan could have been a better written character.
Yeah.
Or like, even if it wasn't Evan, it was like Lisa who got like, it's just Lisa, the whole Evan-Lisa plot together, like, makes the movie drag so much.
Yeah, and to like add to it all, I don't know whether to be displeased or pleased about this, but like, for like the entire second half of the movie, up until the point where they're like having sex in the finale, aside from that, they don't do anything the second half of the fucking movie. And it's like, well, what was the point of building them up other than the fact that they were the ones who awakened this evil? You could have done that like a different way.
But I do like that like one of the main characters is like the becomes the villain. You know, I
would have liked that if they would have like maybe like shown him more as a villain, but once he becomes the villain, aside from like the ending part, he wasn't in it enough for me.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, because also like Father Gus had no interaction with him like ever. Like
exactly.
That's why I'm saying like the dynamic they introduced with him and Lisa was poorly done. And like if they had just done like a dynamic between him and Father Gus, it would have like added so much to the movie.
And as gross as it is, like it for some reason his like character, like for some sort of like fucking cryptic ritual reasons, needed to have sex in the finale of the movie. They could have had it so like you need a virgin, and that's why he could have had that weird, like, obsessive thing with Argento.
It would have been gross, but like
it would have been gross, but it makes sense.
And then Gus helps to save Asia anyway, so he could have just done that. Like,
it could have had him like just trying to chase down like Asia the whole movie.
Yeah,
but or not the whole movie, but for at least like a more climactic chunk of it. But because for as much as I really like the last bit of this movie,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't really feel like I know there's like the stakes of like getting out, but really within the church, aside from like the people that went crazy, it really didn't feel like there was much crazy going on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but then it's just kind of revealed that they're all down there. I'm like, well, I guess there's a lot of crazy going on.
Yeah.
No, it's like I still like the movie.
No,
it's
same
just,
here.
It's just I'm like, oh, it could have been so much better.
Yeah.
Because I do think Father Gus had, like the hammy moment I really liked, though, because it fit with,
I loved it. I loved
because
it like that.
the movie was pretty cheesy for the most part, but it was fun. Like, it was a fun movie.
Yeah.
And then it was just kind of, I'm like, I wish this was better, though.
Yeah, with just a couple minor changes, this movie could have like bumped up like another couple steps.
Yeah, I agree. But
or maybe not another couple steps, but like at least another rating up. Speaking of which, what did you give it?
I gave it a 6.
That is also what I gave it. I heavily considered giving it a 7.
Yeah, no, me too, because I'm like, the last part's so good.
Yeah.
And like,
if it's just the second half of the movie, it would be a 7 for me, but that first half.
Honestly, if it was just the second half, like, or the I guess the third arc, like just the last like 30 minutes, I'd probably give it like an 8. I love that part. But it was just the middle chunk that was like so middling. Like, I don't even think it was necessarily bad. It was just so middling.
Yeah. It was just really kind of bland.
But still a good movie. I still enjoyed it. And it's not too long. It's like an hour and 40 minutes, I think. So I think you should watch it. Especially if you like 80s and 90s like horror. It has some fun little tropes. And it reminds me of a Dario Argento film very heavily. But to the point that I'm just like, did Dario just make this? Obviously, he wrote it, along with the writer for Demons, I think, wrote this as well.
Mm.
Yeah. What are we talking about next, Thomas?
Bubba Ho-Tep!
All right. If you want to start talking about it, I'm going to get some water, but...
Yeah. So, this movie... man. This is like one of my favorites from when I was a kid. It's a Bruce Campbell movie. It's about, so it takes place in this retirement home. Alright, I guess let me start with the beginning of the movie, because it starts with some like mummy, like 40s, 30s mummy, like information, like news serial type stuff that's just kind of informing you on what the movie is. They tell you what a Ho-Tep is, which is like a distant relative or a relative of like the oh gosh, I'm having a brain fart. What?
Wasn't that the mummy's name?
Ho-Tep, the definition of it is they're a relative to I am blanking on the term for a pharaoh.
Oh.
And Bub is like...
Bubba.
Yeah, like, Bubba is like southern male.
Hey, Bubba.
Yeah.
What a movie.
Yeah. So basically, we start in this bleak-ass fucking nursing home.
Yeah, there's like... What I wasn't expecting was kind of how depressing this movie was in ways.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck.
We follow this dude who may or may not be Elvis.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell plays, it's either Elvis or Sebastian Staw? Or...
Yeah.
I'll check.
Yeah, Sebastian or Elvis. And basically, he has a roommate who dies, and his daughter, the roommate's daughter, like comes in and is like throwing away all of his stuff, and he's like, well, hey, you never came to visit him.
Sebastian Hoff.
Yeah, I knew it was like it had a ha in there. And he's like, well, can I just have like his stuff?
I have his chocolate.
Yeah.
but also his Purple Heart.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit, we're going a little bit out of chronological order here, I guess, because the chocolate is key. I thought this happened like pretty right up front in the movie, but I guess this happens like a little bit in because okay, so I'm trying to think of like the order that this shit happens in. The dad might die earlier in the movie and the daughter might not come until later. But we see, so I'm just going to get this part out of the way because I don't remember quite where it happened in the movie. But there's like this old klepto granny who lives there. And she like steals like glasses from this one old lady
who's
like,
in an iron lung.
Yeah, who's in an iron. She's like, no! Like, I felt so bad for her. And then she also steals some chocolate. And then the klepto granny like goes back to her room where she's attacked by this like beetle.
This big giant cockroach.
Yeah.
It's like a giant beetle.
And then she's about to kill it, and then she turns around and sees like this ominous figure in the room.
And she goes, ah!
And then in the middle of the night, Elvis Sebastian wakes up and he like looks and he just sees like the old lady in the hall. This happens like after the dad dies, because I remember the bed next to him's empty.
Yeah.
And then this leads into the scene because she's got the chocolate that she was eating with her, and she's like, help me! And then she just gets dragged down.
Help me! And then he's like, whoa!
And he just goes back to bed. He's like,
it must be a dream. But then she's dead.
Yeah. And God, the more hearse drivers, they are every time they show up, they like break the tone of the movie. Because it's a pretty goofy movie, but it's got like a pretty like, it takes itself pretty seriously for how goofy it is. And then these two fucking clowns show up. And it gets like like even more cartoonish every time they show up. Because the first time, the dude's like, oh man, you ever just like wonder what kind of lives these people have? And the other dude's like, who gives a shit? And it's just like, oh, okay, weird. And then they show up this second time to take care of like the fucking klepto granny.
And he's like, hey, can I ask you something? He's like, what are you going to ask me if I care about these stupid motherfuckers? He's like, what does he say? He's like, no, can you just do this?
I was going to say, this body here smells mighty ripe. And I was going to suggest that you use some of the deodorizer on it.
Yeah.
And he like kind of like leans his head in and he's like,
oh, you're right.
Yeah, good call. And sprays it. And then we'll save the third time for when we get there.
Spoilers, a third person dies.
Yeah, ooh. But yeah, so basically the daughter of his old roommate comes in, gives him the chocolate because it was like left in the hallway, I guess. It just got kind of like shoved into the room and she ended up throwing it into the trash. So he gets the chocolate, gets the Purple Heart. This sets up that hasn't had any sex drive for like years. Yeah. Because she's like bent down into the trash can and has her ass in his face, and he's like, it's the same idea as if she was bending down in front of a house cat. It's not necessarily that she's like trying to like. It ain't intentional or unintentional. It's just kind of there. Yeah, or something. She doesn't see me as any sort of threat or anything. Or
figure, human.
Yeah.
And then his nurse walks in. She's like, hey, Elvis. She's like making fun of him. He's like, I am Elvis. And then he tells the story of how he became Sebastian.
Yeah. And he was Elvis, and he got tired.
I'm tired of all this money and fame and women.
And then he explains it a bit deeper. I mean, I understand like the disillusionment of being famous, because according to like every fucking person who like gets there, like it's that, money corrupts and makes it so like your family and friends try to leech off you, like that kind of shit.
So he goes to meet this impersonator who's just also played by Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
And they switch roles pretty much.
And he has a contract that's like, I can take back my life whenever I want.
But then he burns it up in a barbecue incident.
Yep. He accidentally lights up his entire fucking trailer park.
But he was still happy with it.
Yeah, he's like, whatever.
He's like, do, and then he like pulls his hip out on stage during a concert.
Yep.
And he like goes into a coma. And when he wakes up, Elvis is dead.
Yep.
So no one's gonna believe him.
So, so he ended up eventually just rotting away and ending up in this home. And he's got a growth on his pecker.
Yeah.
Which they bring up quite a few times throughout the movie. And they finally get to the revelation, like, pretty later on that it's cancer.
Yeah.
Or
he's like, they know. They've known.
They just won't
They
tell
just
me.
expect that I'm going to die before it gets me.
Yeah.
He's like, maybe they're right.
But basically, like, the first half hour is just setting up, like, his life here. You know, it sets up his story.
Yeah,
you know.
it takes a while to set up.
You see that he's, like, got, like, a buddy who is a black guy in a wheelchair who thinks he's John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, he's like, they dyed my skin black.
Yeah, he thinks that he was
So
abducted
good.
by aliens in some sort of plot put up by Lyndon B. Johnson.
Lyndon B. Johnson did this. When people start dying,
They
he
replaced
thinks
his
it's Lyndon
brain with a
B.
bag of
Johnson
sand.
still. Yeah, he said that they took part of his brain and they replaced it with a tiny bag of sand. And I'm just like, what does that mean? Why wouldn't they just leave a hole?
But yeah, so one night,
Then the giant cockroach beetle comes for Elvis.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that's a damn big bitch bug. So he calls it a big bitch bug. So then he fights it. And he stands up. That day he had gotten up and like peed for the first time by himself instead of using the bedpan. He's like, I'm gonna piss by myself, and he does. And he's like slowly getting better by himself. But this bug starts to attack him. He's like, no, fuck this.
yeah,
And he fights back
kills it.
with his walker and with a knife, and
A heater.
it's a pretty heated battle. But he does have a heater that gets exposed in the ensuing combat, and he stabs the giant bug and shoves it on the heater, and it like explodes.
and he gets a little shack too. He's like, and then is it here? Yeah, he goes into Jack's room. I'm gonna call him Jack because that's what he calls him most of the movie. This is Jack John F. Kennedy. But he goes into Jack's room and sees that Jack like fell over, and he gets help for him. And basically at that point, Jack is like, because he pretends he's like doesn't know who he is. And then they meet up like the next day. He's like, they're like at dinner, and like he like sees him from across the table, and Jack like kind of like gives him like a nod, like, hey, we got to meet up and talk. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, I know that you're Elvis.
And you know I'm John F. Kennedy.
And he's like, basically,
Yep.
I had always heard that you didn't like me when I was president, so I had to make sure that you weren't with Johnson. And the fact that you helped me last night proved that to me. May I finally call you Elvis? He's like, you may. And I really like that scene. It's nice and wholesome.
I just can't believe they got John F. Kennedy to be in this movie with Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell wasn't in this movie. That was Elvis.
Oh, you're right. This is just a documentary.
But basically, he takes him to the like public bathroom stall that they have there. He's like, Jack's like, my bathroom was out of order, so I had to come here, and I saw this graffiti on the wall. Take a close look at it. And like, Elvis like goes up and looks at it, and he's like, what is it? What do you think that is? He's like, it's Egyptian, because it's like hieroglyphs.
Yeah.
He's like, righto, my boy. He's like, you really bring me in here to see this? Like, what's your fucking point? And he's like, and basically he comes to the conclusion that there's a mummy, and they do some like research on it. And yeah, basically I'm just going to kind of breeze through it because I don't remember. It's kind of like a slow burning movie.
Yeah.
And it can be summed up pretty quickly. But basically, they do some research on it. They figure out that it was originally brought over to a museum, but it was stolen
And then the truck, like...
It was a bus.
The bus just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, there was a big storm that happened the night it was stolen, and the bus drove off the bridge and into the lake, which Bruce Campbell had gone and investigated earlier.
And he had like a vision as well, or no, it just showed a video of it. It didn't actually have a vision of him doing it, but he found it.
Yeah, there's a bit when he like, for like the first half of the movie, he doesn't believe in the mummy. He's just like, I killed a beetle. Yeah, there's graffiti on the wall. What does that mean? But then they get to the scene where it attacks the next people, or the next, like,
King Wasabi,
old person who earlier we see that there's like a person that he used to play cards with,
and he thinks he's like the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, he ends up like slowly losing his mind, and he doesn't even remember Elvis anymore, and he thinks he's the Lone Ranger. And basically, the Lone Ranger's roommate gets his ass sucked by the mummy. By the way, the mummy sucks souls out of any major orifice on the body, so it's either the mouth or the ass.
And I guess he wants extra nutrition, so he goes for the ass.
I mean, if I was a mummy and I knew that I could suck a soul out of a mouth or an ass, I'm going for the ass.
Fair enough.
It's funnier.
But King Wasabi, he like tries to fight off the mummy with his plastic guns, but like it kind of works. Like the mummy is like, we're told that the mummy's pretty weak in his state because he's only feeding off like old souls.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's keeping like rejuvenate him, it's like easy targets, but he's still like, he's a weakened mummy.
Yeah, they come to the conclusion, because it just happens like recently, so they come to the conclusion that if he does this enough times consecutively, that he'll eventually get enough strength to where he'll be like full strength
and be able to like leave and kill, everyone.
Yeah.
But the guy, the Lone Ranger dude, he dies, but he dies of like a heart attack, so he still has his soul.
Yes.
And it was actually a pretty like somber scene, and then the fucking goofy ass hearse drivers come in and they fucking
fling his body. Yeah. There's like actual cartoon sound effects that happen, and it's like, oh my god, are you fucking kidding me right now? Yeah. And this is like the dramatic third act, because basically they've seen the mummy now. They know it's like for sure real. Elvis like stared into its eyes and started getting visions. And I think this is the scene where they like afterwards he goes and he finds the bus. But he's kind of like out mourning the grave before he does that of the Lone Ranger guy. And the nurse comes out and starts patronizing him. And he's like, fuck off, you patronizing bitch! Yeah. And he really lays into her. Like, he's always been kind of catty with her, but he like really lays into her on this scene. And she's just kind of like speechless. And she's like, oh, all right. And he's even like expressing, he's like, fuck, I kind of feel bad about that after.
That's probably one of my favorite scenes, actually.
Yeah, because
there's a big problem with healthcare between like, people with autism or like old people. It gets to the point where there's a lot of healthcare people that don't treat them as human anymore, or they treat them as like lesser. And
yeah.
So it's good to remind them that they're not any better than them.
Yeah. And it's like she did deserve it, and I understand it was an emotional outburst because he was obviously sad that his friend just fucking died.
Yeah. And
that he's staring down the barrel himself because he's an old Elvis who's about to go fight a mummy. But, he goes and he finds the bus down in the lake, and while this is all going on, Jack is out. He had like a resident come pick him up and take him into town to do like deeper research.
It was his niece.
It was his niece, yeah.
Well, it was the niece that they had told him was his niece.
Yeah.
But if he's actually John F. Kennedy, of course, that's not his real niece. But it's his niece. So he figures out, they figure out that, you have to like burn the mummy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? You have to burn the mummy?
No kidding.
So they get ready for their like final stand pretty much.
Yeah. And so
they get ready. He's in his motorized wheelchair, and Elvis is in his Elvis gear.
Yeah, they like synchronize their watches.
They have their weapons, and then they're ready for their fight, and they're standing around, and then suddenly Elvis, he sees them.
Yeah.
And he's like,
They go over by like the creek where the bus crashed.
Where they assume he's going to come out of.
And he does.
Yeah.
And
then
Jack falls asleep.
Yeah, he's like, Jack! And Jack, he's just asleep. He's like, oh. But the mummy starts fighting Bruce Campbell. And Jack wakes up. He's like, oh, shit! And he starts going. And they, like, corner him. And then the mummy walks behind a tree and, like, disappears. And you're like, what the fuck? And Jack's like, oh, flush him out. So he just starts kind of rolling around looking for him. Yeah, finds him.
Yeah. Well, more like the mummy finds him.
And then gets wrecked.
Not Bruce. Elvis is like, no! Jack! And then, of course, just fucking smack. And
Elvis is still, like, on the ground, but suddenly, out of the blue, comes Jack's motorized wheelchairs just, like, going towards me. He's like, yes! So he, like, gets on it.
Yeah, I like how he decided to get on it, because he, like, kind of, like, turns around and, like, prepping to just, like, kind of fall into it. It was really funny. And then he picks up the fucking gasoline pump that he's got and, you know, pumps the mummy in the face a few times. Saves Jack, quotation marks. Gets the mummy off from, like, sucking his soul out of him, at least. And lights the mummy on fire, and the mummy walks away and falls down. He gets his, like, kind of final sentiment with Jack, who dies.
Yeah.
And then the mummy gets back up.
Yeah. And they fight again.
And he basically, like, he's like, fuck it, and rams the wheelchair into the mummy, and then they go down, like, into the creek, or down by...
And, like the wheelchair fluids going everywhere, like the gasoline from the wheelchair.
And he lights the mummy on fire. He's also got... When he fell down the hill, his ribs, like, popped out of his fucking torso. And he sets the mummy on fire, and he proclaims, at least I still have my soul. And he dies, and the movie ends.
Yeah. That is indeed what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much the movie. It's pretty simple, but I think pretty enjoyable. I think my biggest gripes with it are the, like, fucking hearse drivers.
Yeah, I think they, like, super ruin. I also think that the movie takes too long to set up.
Personally...
Like, 30 minutes, you know, it can be kind of a lot.
Personally, I don't really mind it, because I think of it more as, like, kind of like... I don't want to say a character piece, because it's...
No, well, I can agree with that.
But it's very character-driven.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is I think it was still a little too goofy, or it was not goofy enough. I feel like they were on a weird middle ground where they didn't really know what they wanted to do.
I can definitely see, like, something.
And because of that, I think that, like, if it was a little goofier during that first half, or the first 30 minutes, I would have been fine. Or if it was, like, less goofy throughout, I would have been fine. But because, also, like, I know that Mummy's supposed to be like, oh, it's a funny joke, but, like, when the mummy talks through hieroglyphics that aren't real hieroglyphics, I'm just like, that's just dumb.
Yeah.
Because you could just actually get real hieroglyphics that roughly translate to this, or, you know. Like, it's just kind of being racist for no reason. Like, it doesn't add anything. Or the mummy could have just talked.
Yeah. I forgot about that part until you just brought it up. I wasn't a big fan of that. I think a lot of this film's shortcomings for myself personally come in its presentation. It does a lot of, like, early 2000s, late 90s, like, editing tricks with, like, the speeding up and, like, oh gosh, like, the bright flashes of light. There's one horrendous edit. I don't know if it was just on the copy I had, but it's during the first hearse scene where they're closing the door to the hearse, and there's, like, a missing frame, like, where they cut, like, in the process of him shutting the door, and then they cut like the middle chunk, and then it just like cuts to the part where the door closes, and I was like, what the fuck was that? It might just be the copy I had, honestly. I
didn't notice that, but at the same time, I might have just
it was extremely subtle. I was just paying very close attention to the editing, and I was like, what the fuck? Because I've been trying to pay attention to editing more in movies, and like eye lines and composition and shit like that. But yeah, aside from that, I definitely see your criticism, and I can see why someone would have that.
Yeah, it's just like, and I know it's like 2002, and and it's just like The Mummy had just come out 3 years earlier, and I like The Mummy, but it's also really racist.
Yeah.
And this one's just like, it's just things that don't like add to the comedy either. Like, it's just pointless.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, that's so annoying.
Yeah, what does he say? Like, fucking eat Anubis's dog dick or something like that.
And I'm like, okay, first of all, it's not, like, it wasn't funny, but I'm like, also, when it showed hieroglyphics, it just showed like a penis emoji. But in the style of a hieroglyphic. And I'm like, I'm sure there's an Egyptian hieroglyphic for penis. Like, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh. But, yeah. And I feel like it would have been better if he just talked or just didn't say anything. Like, because that part, like, I think he only says 2 lines. And they're both bad.
Yeah.
I still liked the movie. I thought it was a fun time. And it was very goofy. Like, very... Both the movies we watched are very wacky.
Yeah.
Which is... It's weird that this movie was more serious than The Church, though.
Yeah, it kind of is, because you hear the premise of this movie, and it's like, oh, a couple
At
people...
least in execution.
Yeah. A couple people in a retirement home. One thinks he's Elvis, one thinks he's John F. Kennedy, and they team up together to stop a mummy. And it's like, what? That sounds fucking cartoonish and goofy as shit. And then it turns out to be like this really like depressing movie that tackles like
how we abandon the old people.
Yeah.
Gave us life. And I was like, ooh.
It's like, oh.
So what'd you give the film?
Probably like a 7.
I'd give it a 6, but I enjoyed both the movies we watched.
Yeah.
6s are what I usually give things, but I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah.
I might like it more on a rewatch, but
perhaps.
Apparently, I didn't notice this because I didn't watch all the way to the end credits. But there's like a funny like spoof thing that's like, I think it says like, "Stay tuned for Bubba Ho-Tep, Curse of the She-Vampires" or something.
Oh yeah,
because there was like it was a joke. Like people were like, "The sequel."
There was like a year ago or so where I saw like actual like articles talking about potentially the making of a sequel to this, and it's like, I mean,
apparently, like there was like after people were like, "Yeah, let's do it," he was like, "Okay, maybe it wasn't a joke." But then 2007 rolls around, and Bruce Campbell apparently was like, "I don't want to do it."
It makes sense. I feel like this film works better as a standalone.
But apparently, like, Paul Giamatti was going to be in the sequel, and he tried to get it made for quite a while.
Huh.
Because
it's like, what would the sequel even be? Both, like, all the characters die.
Apparently, it was supposed to be like it would center around the production of a lost Elvis movie from the 50s or 60s.
They would have to, like, de-age Bruce Campbell.
Do it. Ang Lee, come on.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed
but last
to that,
year,
we have better technology.
I don't know if you knew this, but IDW Publishing did a limited series, like, prequel comic called Bubba Ho-Tep and the Cosmic Bloodsuckers.
That might have been what I heard about. I don't know. It's been a while.
Oh, what the fuck? And then this year, there was a 4-issue crossover miniseries called Army of Darkness / Bubba Ho-Tep.
I did see about that one.
Maybe I should watch Army of Darkness one of these days.
You should.
I watched Stand By Me, so maybe I'll do that soon.
Yeah, because it's fucking great.
Yeah, so our average for this movie was a 6.5. Didn't say that. Sorry.
Oh,
most of our viewers probably can't do math, so.
Back to you.
All right. So you got a classic this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to play a little bit of a guessing game?
Sure.
All right. So it came out same year as Star Wars.
House.
It's also a sci-fi movie that has to deal with the subject of space, and I will say it's directed by half of the team that made Indiana Jones.
Did Indiana Jones have more than one director? Or was it like one of the writers directing this movie?
Well, it's Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. So.
Steven Spielberg.
Think Steven Spielberg, space movies.
E.T.
A little earlier than that. It's what he made before E.T. I'm sure you've heard of this movie. At least, I'd be very surprised if you haven't.
Hook.
It's called Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh, yes. I didn't know when they came out. I'm just like...
77 is the answer.
Oh, okay. Is this a pretty good movie from what you remember?
Yeah, I saw it once when I was 12.
Nice.
And I just bought the 4K for it.
Is that the reason why you want to watch it? You're like,
yeah.
I want to watch it in 4K. Well, bro.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Okay. Mine is a movie from, I think, 2014. By a director, I believe you pronounce his name, Andre Zviagintsev. Zviagintsev. The movie is called Leviathan.
Leviathan?
Came out in 2014. It's available to rent on Vudu and YouTube, but not available to stream anywhere. Close Encounters, let's see if that's available. I realized the last 2 times I haven't told people where you can watch it. So they probably... Whoa, it's free on Crackle!
Oh, cool.
And,
Get a screenshot.
Close Encounters is free on Crackle, and you can rent it from Vudu or YouTube. Yeah.
All right,
team. Well, you know the drill.
Yeah, tell your fucking grandmas.
Yeah, and thank you so much for your support. We love you, and leave a question if you want them answered. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
Adios.